In the time of great drought and famine, the land of Israel laid barren, its fields dust-covered and its rivers dry. People were hungry, desperate, and searching for hope. Amid this desolation, the Lord spoke to his prophet Elijah, saying, "Go to Zarephath in Sidon and stay there. I have commanded a widow there to supply you with food." Can you imagine receiving such instructions? To go to a devastated land, to find a woman already impoverished and expect sustenance from her? But Elijah obeyed, because trust in God can often lead us down paths that defy human logic. As Elijah arrived at the city gates of Zarephath, he saw her, a widow collecting sticks. She was thin, her face worn with struggle, and her movements slow with exhaustion. Elijah approached her and called, "Would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink?" The woman looked up, startled, but she nodded and turned to get him water. Then Elijah added, "And bring me, please, a piece of bread." These words stopped her in her tracks. She turned back to him with sorrow in her eyes and said, "As surely as the Lord your God lives, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die." Imagine the utter despair she must have felt. Her situation seemed hopeless. Yet here was this man, a stranger, asking for what little she had left. But Elijah didn't flinch. Instead, he said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you've said. But first make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me, and then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says, the jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land." What a test of faith, to give away the last of what you have in the hope of a promise. The widow looked at Elijah. Perhaps there was something in his voice, a power she couldn't ignore, or perhaps she clung to this as her final ray of hope. She went home, prepared the bread as Elijah had instructed, and brought it to him. And then, as she turned to look at her jar of flour and her jug of oil, what do you think she saw? They were not empty. There was still flour. There was still oil. Enough to make another meal, and another. Day by day, just as Elijah had said, her supplies didn't run out. The trust of Elijah in God's instruction and the faith of the widow in obeying a seemingly impossible command ushered in a miracle that sustained them throughout the famine. This story isn't just about provision, it's about faith and obedience in the face of impossibility. It's about God providing exactly what we need, even when it seems there's nothing left. So let me ask you, what areas of your life are you holding back from trusting God fully? What miracles are waiting for your faith to unleash them? This tale of Elijah and the widow invites us to trust in God's provision even when circumstances appear dire. It reminds us that faith often requires courage, and generosity can pave the way for blessings. Would you have had the courage to act as the widow did? Or the faith of Elijah to step into the unknown? Let this story inspire you to take that step of trust today and watch the miracles unfold.